Overwatch is a gaming phenomenon that came out on May 24th, 2016. 10 years have passed since then, and it is one of the very few live service games that has withstood the test of time. Not many of these games can say they have. I personally played this game in the beta before it came out, and my early 20 self had quite a bit of fun with it. And when it came out for real, the full game, I had to get it. And for those 10 years, well, at least for the first few years of it, I was hooked on this game. And there was a bit of a decline. I took a break from it, and then coming back to it now and then, trying out many new heroes, new maps. There's just so many of them, and especially the lore too. And now May 24th, this game started off with 21 heroes. At the end of 2025, that number increased to 45. With this year releasing 10 new heroes after 10 years, by the end of December of this year, it'll have a total of 55 heroes. And it's only going to grow from there. That, new maps, new lore. And I'd love to keep coming back for more of this, because I'm a big fan of the franchise. And hey, I would love to see a movie for this, or a series of movies. So, I thought to myself, what do I want to do for a 10th anniversary special? I was thinking, one of my favorite bits of lore, heroes. I thought, since it's the 10th anniversary, I want to count down my top 10 favorite heroes of all time. And this is all based off of personal opinions, and also the new heroes that came out this year will not be included. I'm only going to include the top 10 of my all-time favorite heroes that released during the first 10 years of this game's lifetime. And I've had some fun with them heroes, but like I said, these 10 have made the top of my list because I've had the most fun with these 10 of all time. So here we are. Let's go over my top 10 most favorite heroes. Number 10 of my top 10 most favorite Overwatch heroes of all time is Symmetra. Symmetra is a hero that utilizes light-bending photon projector to pretty much dispatch adversaries, shield associates, construct teleporters, or even bring out sentry turrets. Keep in mind, she's one of the 21 original heroes that came out May 24th, 2016, along with the full game. She's a specialist damage hero, which means within 3 seconds after elimination, reload speed will be 1.5 times faster. So if you get an elimination with her, make sure you reload right away. Anyways, her photon projector, back in the day, used to connect to an opponent and they would not be able to escape from it because it's attached to them. However, the damage wasn't as good. But, and by the way, she used to be a support hero, and then she was reworked into a damage hero, and her photon projector no longer attaches to an opponent, that you have to be accurate with your shots now. But with that, the damage got buffed. So now there's 3 different levels of damage: 60, 120, and 180 damage per second for levels 1, 2, and 3 respectively. If you are extremely accurate, your opponents would be fearing you, because max damage with a photon projector can just burn opponents to the grave. And another good thing about this, if you're using it on a shield, get this, you're replenishing ammo too. And keep in mind, she also has an alt fire which can do up to 100 damage for a direct hit. That's why sometimes I like to call her secondary fire the dodgeball of death. Some of her special abilities, if you can utilize them correctly, could pretty much annoy your opponents, especially her sentry turrets. She can only have a maximum of 3 out there under normal circumstances. They each have 40 health, so 1 melee hit and they go down if you put them in like the wrong position. But each of them can do 30 a second. If you can get 3 of those together, that's 90 a second. You could potentially burn through opponents before they even chance to reach you. And then, a classic oldie but goodie teleporter, which used to be her ultimate ability prior to becoming 3.0 Symmetra, but now it's just a regular ability. It's pretty simple. Place a teleporter, and you can teleport yourself to a location of wherever you choose. And you can also transport your sentry turrets too, and some of the other things. But if you want to play some good defense and protect your team, you have this her ultimate ability known as the Photon Barrier, which prior to her rework all the way back in 2018 used to be just a regular ability that's like a floating barrier during her 2.0 era. With 4,000 health, there is very little that can take this thing out. And just pretty matters where you can place this to help protect your team. But one thing for sure is this covers the entire map, which is really nice. So you don't have to worry how far is it gonna go. You got the peace of mind. Now her perks, I guess let's go over them. Her minor perks, you have a choice of either sentry capacity, which you gain an additional charge so you can have a 4th sentry turret, or you could go with perfect alignment, which increases the range of the photon projector's primary fire by 20%. Personally, since I usually have a little bad luck with keeping sentry turrets up, I prefer perfect alignment because I like to have that range just because I love to burn through my enemies. Yes. Her major perks focuses more on her teleporter and encourages many Symmetra players to use the teleporter more often. You have a hovering barrier, which is based off her 2.0 self, which the teleporter gains the option to create a forward-moving barrier instead. So you press the ability to, again, slows down the barrier's movement, which if you want to do that. Or the other one I personally prefer, Shield Battery, which Symmetra would regenerate 20 shields per second while within 10 meters of her teleporter. Honestly, they're kind of meh. But if you could utilize her abilities correctly, Symmetra is no slouch. And she could be a pretty good flanker if you can use her teleporter correctly. Number 9 on my top 10 favorite heroes of all time, or at least in the first 10 years, Moira, the mad scientist of Talon who would go through any lengths for the advancement of science. She is a medic support whose biotic abilities can enable her to contribute to healing or damage in any crisis, and came to this game November 16th, 2017, and remains one of my favorites to this day. As a medic, 40% of the healing she deals to allies, she can heal herself. Her weapons consist of a biotic grasp. Left hand heals allies, which consumes biotic energy, which heals for 80 impact healing per second, and then overtime at 17 per second, and can ignore barriers too, or whatever, or things that can absorb projectiles. But just keep in mind, if you run out of biotic energy, you will not be able to heal an ally unless you can do damage with her alt fire, which would give you biotic energy, which you can damage enemies for 65 per second, which heals you for 30 per second. So you'll have to keep yourself a good balance between healing and doing damage. So what would make her even better? Her Fade ability, start it off, allows you to pretty much get away from a lot of painful situation, and which cleanses her of most negative status effects and making her immune to damage. However, she could still be hit by Graviton Surge and Graphitic Flux. One of my favorite abilities of Moira is the Biotic Orb, which you have to decide between damage, which does 50 per second up to 200 if it can absorb, if it uses it all, or 65 per second for healing up to 300. So pretty much, depending on the situation, if your allies are completely healed up, go for damage. Or if you need to heal up, go with the healing. And the best part is, they bounce off of walls and can pierce heroes as well. However, what makes Moira stand out the most is her ultimate ability known as Coalescence. Coalescence is an ultimate ability that requires 2,700 points, which can either do 85 damage per second, or you can use it, or that same beam can heal allies for 140 per second, but can also heal yourself at 55 per second. If you have a lot of teammates that are low on health and they're very lined up, that would be the perfect time to use a Coalescence. I wouldn't use it just to try and kill the enemy team, because as a support ultimate, you need to make sure your teammates are completely healthy. Now, heading to her minor perks, she's got a couple good ones. Now, for Destruction's Divide is the first of her minor perks we'll go through. This allows Coalescence to be toggled between pure healing or pure damage, as if you're deciding which version of the Biotic Orb you're going with, and it'll have a 30% greater effect. So, would you like more healing, or would you like to do more damage? The decision is right there. Or go for Ethical Nourishment, which the Biotic Orb's first 30 healing is instant on each ally it encounters. So, if you're not feeling too confident on which version of Coalescence to go with, Ethical Nourishment is not a bad choice to go with. And now for her major perks. The first one we're going through is probably one of my personal favorites, Reversal. When you reactivate the Biotic Orb, it'll reverse direction. So if you feel like the orb is getting too far away from your allies, you can bring it right back and make sure it finishes off its healing, or finish off the damage to enemies if you choose the damage. Or if you feel like escaping more during situations that you feel like it's overwhelming, Phantom Step is a good one to go with, which fade lasts a half a second longer and boosts jump height by 50%. So if you feel like jumping to a platform that's out of your reach initially, Phantom Step could be for you. Otherwise, major perks, I personally would go with Reversal because I love biotic orbs. I'm pretty biased towards it. And all in all, despite being out for 8.5 years during as of this video, Moira is still fun to play as from time to time. Number 8 on the top 10 favorite heroes countdown, Sigma, an eccentric astrophysicist who's manipulated by talent and deployed as a living weapon, and a tank who has the power to control gravity due to an orbital experiment gone wrong. This hero came out August 13th, 2019. He was the second to last hero to be released during the first era of Overwatch. I tried this character out. He was fun. Today, he's still fun. A little harder to use thanks to some nerfs throughout his life. But let's go over what he could do. He's a stalwart tank, meaning the knockbacks and slows he receives are reduced by 40%, which is very important because the knockbacks can be ridiculous in Overwatch. His main weapon are his hyperspheres. You can launch these two which implode after a short duration, which can deal damage in an area, which is 20 per hit. And you can bounce these off of walls too to catch enemies off guard, or finish off someone who thinks they're safe, but nope. Yeah, thought so, says the hypersphere. It's one of my favorite weapons in the game, to be honest. Now for his special abilities. If you can use these correctly, he can be a monster. Starting off with his experimental barrier, which you can propel a floating barrier, which you can stop whenever you wanted to, and then you can just press again, which is right click, or I think it's or left trigger or whatever, depending on the platform. So you can either have it close to you and your allies to protect yourselves from incoming enemy fire, or you can put it near your enemies so they'll have to destroy it and you could possibly escape. Just be mindful. If you recall, it's only a 1-second cooldown. If it's destroyed, it's a 5-second cooldown. Next up, Kinetic Grasp. If you can time this correctly, you can get yourself a lot of overhealth. Or maybe not as much, depending on how much is coming after you. It's pretty much self-explanatory. Say if you have a Bastion who's like sentry turret mode, and it's Malga shooting at you, you have this on you, and you can absorb a lot of overhealth. And it's really good with absorbing some ultimate abilities. Let's say Barrage from Afara, or Graviton Surge can be cancelled by this, or Blizzard. Any projectile-like ultimate abilities can be absorbed by Kinetic Grasp, and which can really ruin their day. Next up, Accretion. You get a mass of debris thrown at an enemy which can knock them down, interrupting whatever abilities they were using, and pretty much do some direct damage, 80 damage of direct damage. Splash is 40, so pretty much can do a total of 120 damage right there. But just be careful you don't do this too close to yourself, because you could hurt yourself too and get yourself killed, because I've done that quite a bit of times during this game's lifetime. And now for a very kind of scary ultimate ability. Graphitic Flux. You lift your enemies into the air and you slam them on the ground. The lift is 50 damage to whoever gets caught in it. And it deals damage equal to half of their max health. So anyone caught and they're down to below half health, if they get slammed down, it is lights out for them. That is as long as you don't get stunned or killed. Because if one of those things happens to you, the Graphitic Flux is canceled. And it pretty much will benefit if you are hit with a nano boost to make sure that you're harder to kill. So make sure your healers have you healed up. And don't do this ultimate ability when you're at low health. For his perks, he's got some decent ones, although I'm not really a fan of them. But let's go over them, shall we? Kinetic Cycle absorbs projectiles with Kinetic Grasp, which also, or let me rephrase that. Absorbing projectiles with Kinetic Grasp will also reduce Accretion's cooldown. If you're a fan of the Accretion ability, this is a good one to go with. Or you go with Hyper Regeneration, which 40% of Hypersphere's damage restores Experimental Barrier's health. So if you're a big fan of shield tanks, Hyper Regeneration would be the one to go with. His major perks is not too bad. Although, one of them I could prefer over the other. The first one, Hyper Strike. Every 5 direct hits with Hyperspheres, your next successful quick melee levitates and knocks away enemies. The other is Levitation, which you activate by holding double jump to briefly levitate upwards. Personally, not too much of a fan of either one, but if I had to pick which one to go with, I'd probably go with Hyper Strike on this one. He may have been around for over 8.5 years. I don't play with him as much anymore, but when I do, still a lot of fun to play as him. Especially when I could use those Hyperspheres to just catch some enemies off guard. Number 7 on my Overwatch 10th anniversary top 10 favorite heroes countdown, Mercy. One of the easiest heroes in the game to use, one of the easiest healers to use in the game, and one of the 21 original heroes included in the game's release. A field medic and first responder from Switzerland, and a renowned surgeon in the Overwatch world. So why is she number 7 on my list? Despite a simple moveset. It's easy. It's just how you use it, pretty much. Like Moira before, she's a medic, so 40% of healing she deals, she receives herself. And she also has a passive ability called Swift Recovery. Like how healers can regenerate health quickly, she can regenerate that more quickly. Because of this, because she was the only one that could regenerate health when she doesn't take much damage before healers were able to recover health, and then eventually goes to everyone else. And she has another passive ability called Angelic Descent, which slows down your movement speed by 2 meters per second, which can help you reach some places which otherwise you wouldn't be able to reach if you were falling at normal speed. Her main weapon is the Caduceus Staff. The Caduceus Staff is a weapon that can switch between healing your allies, which would heal at 55 per second, or increasing an ally's damage inflicted by 30%, with a max range of 15 meters, and can ignore barriers, which is a very nice thing if barriers are an issue for you when you're wanting to heal your allies, or amplify damage. The Caduceus Blaster is her secondary weapon, which I recommend using this sparingly, whether you're trying to defend yourself or finish an enemy off, because each blast, or each projectile I should say, does only 20 damage with the ammo of 25. But headshots do critical hits as well. Some abilities, she has like one major ability, and that's it. But this ability is really fun, and the reason why I come back to play Mercy sometimes. That is called Guardian Angel, where you fly towards an ally, and while you're in flight, the jump can launch you forward, and crouch would launch you upward. This is a very handy tool for Mercy to escape from pretty dangerous situations. If she's getting close to death, if there's an ally near her, use Guardian Angel to escape, and then jump to launch yourself farther away from danger. Finally, or I should say not finally, she has another ability called Resurrect, which I forgot to say she has two abilities. My fault there. Resurrect, it's pretty simple. You revive an ally at full health with a cast time of 1.75 seconds, but has a major moving penalty. And if you're successful in that, great. If not, then you're gonna have to wait another 30 seconds before you can resurrect another ally. So just be mindful when you use Resurrect, because don't do that while you're in danger, or at least do it while you're protected. Flash Heal is a brand new ability, which I keep forgetting about that because Mercy was reworked recently, as of this video at least. Flash Heal doubles an ally. It heals an ally for 60, but 120 when they're at low health. Basically the healing is doubled pretty much on allies below half health. Finally, her ultimate ability, Valkyrie. Let me just tell you a little story. Prior to a very long time back, she used to have mass resurrection, which just pretty much reses anyone that's close to her. But that became a regular ability, and now she has Valkyrie, which personally, I like this a lot better. You pretty much gain the ability to fly, and your abilities are pretty much enhanced. Healing becomes 65 per second when you're on a target. Everyone else would get a little bit less healing. Same thing with damage boosting. Pretty much use this to try and save your life. Use this when you're healing. And also use only your blaster to defend yourself, which, by the way, during Valkyrie, the Caduceus blaster has infinite ammo. I see a lot of people just go pew 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 during the entire time. You should still use that sparingly. And you make sure you focus on keeping your allies healthy and strengthen them as well. And she's got some good minor perks here. Angelic Resurrection is where you get yourself 100 overhealth after casting Resurrect, or you can go for Winged Reach with the Guardian Angel's range increased by 30%. I think both of these are really good. But if I had to make a personal decision, Winged Reach might be the slightly better one, because you'd be better off trying to escape from danger, because that 100 overhealth could be eliminated instantly if you're getting like shredded by the enemy team and completely surrounded, or just taking that much damage, especially if you have a tank taken down or if someone flanks your backline. That's typically why Winged Reach would be the better one. Now, her major perks include Chain Boost, which secondary fire links to a second nearby ally. So that secondary fire is damage boost, which, when you have two allies damage boosted, could pretty much turn the tide of a battle. Or you could also go for double dose, which Flash Heal gains an additional charge. However, base healing is reduced by 10. So basically 50 by default, or 100 for their low health. However, having those 2 charges, it's well worth it if you want to go for more overall healing. I gotta say, I really have no preference over the other. Do you want to have more damage for your allies, or do you want more healing? That's pretty much the question. And even with the simple moveset, I find Mercy to be really, really fun to play as. And pretty much throughout these 10 years, I sometimes like to come back and play her. On our top 10 favorite heroes of the first 10 years, number 7, or I should say number 6, is Echo. A revolutionary robot programmed with a rapidly adapting artificial intelligence and versatile enough to fill multiple battlefield combat roles. She was the very last hero to be added into the game before the 2.0 era started in October 2022. And when was she added? It was April 14th, 2020, during the onset of the COVID pandemic. She's very versatile, like I mentioned before. She is a recon hero, so for 3.5 seconds, if you can damage them and enemies are below half health, you can detect them through walls, and even yourself, or you can guide your allies to those enemies and finish them off. She does have a glide ability thanks to her wings, which slows down her fall speed by 4 meters a second, and even increase her horizontal speed by 50%. Tri-shot is her primary weapon, which fires 3 shots at once in a triangular platform. So that's 17 per pellet for a total of 51 per shot, which obviously doubled with a headshot. And if you can time your firing correctly, if you're accurate, you can take out a lot of non-tanks in almost no time. Her special abilities do include 2 of them. Make that 3. The first up is my personal favorite ability of hers, and one of my personal favorite abilities in the game for anyone. Sticky bombs. You wonder why I'm like this. She fires a volley of sticky bombs, which detonate after a delay. And each volley is 6 sticky bombs, each with a direct hit damage of 5, 25 for explosion, which you need to be careful. You can hurt yourself doing that. So that's a total of 30 damage per volley for a total of 180. You could pretty much take out a tracer in one shot. Or anyone below half health, if that's a non-tank, that is. And then her next one is flight. You fly forward quickly, it's pretty simple. You use it to escape. Duration is a max of 3 seconds. And you have a little bit of a movement speed of 28 meters per second with a dash. And then you fly for 8 per second. Finally, and this is the focusing beam. Think of it as the Overwatch version of Pokemon moves like Avalanche or Brine. Many of you Pokemon fans will know what I mean with this one. You can channel a beam for a few seconds, and damage increases. So let me tell you this. It's 75 per second initially. But for targets below 50% health, that damage increases to 175 per second. This is perfect if you want to finish enemies off. And I recommend only doing that to finish someone off, or get them close to half health and then finish them off. Whatever you want to do, focusing means right there. Finally, this is the ultimate ability that makes Echo very unique. Duplicate. Duplicate is pretty self-explanatory. You become a copy of the hero you target, whether it's allies or enemies. And when you're playing as that copied hero, you can get their ultimate ability pretty quickly. However, if you're wanting to use this, I highly recommend using it on a target that the hero that you know well. So that way you're familiar with the abilities that they're duplicated, and not struggling with ones you're not too comfortable with. But duplicate is one of the most versatile abilities in the game. Most people like to target tanks, and I kind of like it that way too, but sometimes you want to target for a healer in case you want to get some extra healing in, or just want to have a fun time, just continue doing damage. Like I said, it's a flexible ultimate. The world's your oyster, and it's right there. Echo also has some really good perks. There's no bad perks here. Starting with her minor perks, she has, the first one is Focused Rush, which increases Focus Beam's range by 6 meters, and also increases your movement speed by 20% while it's active. Or if you want to get ultimate charge quickly, you can go with Partial Scan, which duplicate starts with 50% of its ultimate charged. That's for those who really enjoy wanting to do some damage or help allies or disrupt enemies with ultimates. Partial Scan is there. I personally go with Focused Rush, mainly because I kind of struggle with getting ultimates off, because I get taken out of duplicate kind of quickly, and I do admit I struggle with that. And I do love Focus Beam, so I'm pretty biased on that one. Now, her major perks, there's some good ones too. You got Full Salvo, which fires 50% more projectiles, so that's a total of 9 projectiles. Or you can go High Beams, which Focus Beam's eliminations resets flight's cooldown. Personally, I go with Full Salvo. You know how much I love those sticky bombs, right? Anyways, whatever it is, Echo is very versatile, she's flexible, and she's always ready to learn. That is the first half of our top 10 countdown of favorite heroes from the first 10 years. Yeah, this went on a little longer than I thought, so rest assured, part 2 will be coming up. I'll showcase the remaining 5 in my top 10 from 5 to 1, or pretty much my top 5 favorite heroes. Stay tuned. We're going to go over my top 5 heroes in the next video.